In this episode of New Jersey Living, we are going to take a close look at another comparison scenario of which neighborhood do I decide if I'm trying to be close to Manhattan, but not necessarily in Manhattan. Today, we're going to take a look at the two communities of Dumbo, Brooklyn, which is right there on the East River, kind of sandwiched in between both Brooklyn Bridge and Manhattan Bridge, and downtown Jersey City. All right, so we're going to take a look specifically areas I'm going to use for downtown. If you've seen my downtown breakdown of best neighborhoods in downtown Jersey City, two of the communities that I looked at were Newport and Paulus Hook. So I'm going to kind of zone in on those two areas specifically, but we're going to take a nice dive into what are my options looking like, both from a housing standpoint as well as ease of transport and commuting. And the commute will just generally use our commute into and out of Manhattan in terms of the trains. So if you are someone currently living in either location, would love to have some feedback from you on your experiences there, and would love to have some feedback from others who are just considering one versus the other. So let's take a dive now. Let's get to it. Welcome to New Jersey Living. My name is Corey Jones, and I'm a licensed real estate agent in New Jersey with Coldwell Banker. I'm team leader of the New Jersey Living Group and host of New Jersey Living, the podcast. Our endeavor is to provide you with 5-star content on New Jersey real estate marketing scene to reflect our 5-star ratings on Google. So if you are someone who is interested in real estate, dining scene, social and entertainment venues, and iconic locations, then this is the channel for you. Go ahead and click like, subscribe, notification bell to stay updated on content just like this that is coming your way on a weekly basis. For those that are in the market right now, browsing and just kind of curious about where they want to go next, or actively pursuing and searching for a property right now, I have two resources for you specifically. One of them is the Buyer's Guide, walking you through the process and how I could assist you in that process should you need the help. And we also have our relocation guide for those that are relocating to New Jersey or just the general New York metro area and learn a little bit more about the New Jersey side of that market. For homeowners, we have something for you as well. And that is a complimentary CMA, no obligation whatsoever. We'll get a market valuation to you within 24 hours after you requesting one. And for homeowners, we also have the option of you getting a cash offer number for your property with sight unseen. And of course, you can determine what that number may look like and whether you want to entertain it or not. But we do have a network of investors that are prepared for pretty much immediate cash offers on properties. So with all that being said, let's dive into our conversation today about Dumbo versus downtown Jersey City. So we're going to compare specifically in this episode what your price points look like from one location compared to the other, the location themselves in terms of the general amenities, the scenery, and the convenience of commuting and traveling, because both locations are locations where a lot of residents are not going to have a high priority on owning a car and driving per se, but how easy it is to get around in each respective location. But really, this episode is about prices and price point and what you will get for a given price point. So let's start with Dumbo. So Dumbo, we are in a little sliver of Brooklyn. All right. So downtown Brooklyn, in between Manhattan Bridge and the Brooklyn Bridge, we have the Dumbo area. It's a nice area. My wife and I have visited before, just walked to Brooklyn Bridge and spent some time along the waterfront. Beautiful, beautiful place to be. And just to take in some great scenery on a day, particularly when the weather is very pleasant. So it's a lovely, relatively small area. So that's another reason why, in terms of the Jersey City comparisons, I'm just going to take focus on a couple of the narrow slivers, if you will, of that area with Paulus Hook and Newport. So we see what that area, looks like in terms of right there off of the East River. And then we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the Jersey City side, but we're going to start with Dumbo specifically what the market is providing right now, as we are in we're late 2024, but we're about early November in 2024. All right, as we scroll through the current Dumbo market here, and we can see that there are multiple buildings where you can find units available. Pay attention to square footage. Square footage is very significant when we're talking about a market where we're looking at condos, because the size does make a difference. Views also factor in as well. So with these and a few of these, we might take a little deeper dive in and take a look at some photos at some of these. But for one right now, what I'm going to do is scroll down so that we can get a general view of what the units tend to run for in Dumbo. And we see a lot, 2, 3, and 4 million. And I see a 1.3, that's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, that's 1,200 square feet. But a lot of inventory that is on that higher end. We see another one, we're talking 1.3 million for a 1-bed, 1 bath, a little over 1,000 square feet. And we see 9 million, 7.5 million. Quite the inventory. And we come across, I see one option that is under $1 million on J Street, 1 bath. This is a studio at 582 square feet at $765,000. And again, that is the only one under 1 million that I see thus far in this given inventory group. There we have one more. We have a 1 million that is a 1-bed, 1 bath, 519 square feet. And this is just kind of a metric that I want to pay attention to as we start comparing some of our Jersey City options. And for Dumbo, in terms of commute, if you were a driver and chose to have parking locally, you are conveniently located by both the BQE. If you need to get into Staten Island or drive down to the more southern part of New Jersey via the Gowanus and then the Staten Island Expressway, there's that route to take, and then there's both the Brooklyn Bridge and the Manhattan Bridge to take you into Manhattan. But more often than not, it's going to be the subway for this location. So we have both High Street and York Street as the 2 subway stations nearby. Neither are really in Dumbo, but at the same time, they're not. They're a few blocks away, just outside of the neighborhood. So I wouldn't really consider that a check mark against by any means, but that's just something to consider for the location. Now, let's take a look at some of the comparable properties in downtown Jersey City. For Jersey City, as I mentioned, we're going to focus on specifically 2 neighborhoods, focusing at the Newport section as well as Paulus Hook. And as we scroll down again, we're going to pay close attention to square footage on these options here. So what we notice right offhand is that similar price points and square footage are yielding a different number of bedrooms in general. So you'll see the first one, we see a 1.4 million, that's 1,200 square feet, that's 2-bedroom and 2 bath. All right, and we scroll down, we see a lot of those price points in that lower portion of $1 million. And in some cases, square foot is closer to 1,000 and still 2 bedrooms, but you generally speaking are finding your price per square foot a bit more friendly here, because we see a good share of options that are under 1 million. Again, a 1-bedroom, 1 bath, I see, for example, 825, that's at 725 square feet. Now, keep that in mind as we were just in the inventory for Dumbo. All right, a 3-bedroom, just under 2 million, 1,400 square feet, 3-bedroom. And a lot of these options are going to have pretty nice, if not spectacular, city views as well as what you would find in Dumbo, particularly when you get to certain buildings like 77 Hudson, for example, which is going to be a really, really beautiful building with wonderful amenities. So as we're looking at these, I think you're getting the general feel just based on the price numbers that you're looking at, that it is a different kind of prospect of buying in downtown Jersey City versus your Dumbo option, which is clearly far more of a luxury kind of buy than what you would have for downtown Jersey City. And as we're talking commute, ease of traveling from one place to another, we're going to take a look at another map of train stations, and you're going to see a scattering of train stations really throughout downtown Jersey City. But again, we were focusing on more Newport and for Paulus Hook. Not every train station is a path station. Note, some of these are light rail. But as we look in here, I'm going to notate which ones we have that are specific to the areas that we are covering for both Newport and for Paulus Hook. So here's a close-up look in terms of the different stations, and as I scroll over, you'll see which ones are path and which ones are light rail. So this right here, final stop on the Jersey City side before this goes into the city, or conversely coming from New York City into downtown New Jersey. So Newport, you can see that there's a path. This one, when we see HBLR, that's a light rail. We have another light rail here, Christmas Cove. If you've seen my Jersey City, specifically my Newport episode, I was walking right in that area. Harborside, another light rail here. And Exchange, we have path and we have a light rail, right? So we have both that are right down one by the block, one from the other. Essex Street, light rail. Marin Boulevard, light rail. Jersey Ave is really kind of outside of Paulus Hook, but you get the point. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 train stations in all for our downtown Jersey City option, just for those two specific neighborhoods. All right, so we're going to do a little side by side, just pulling two of these properties out to get an idea. I chose property on from the Shore Club. This is really in the heart of Newport, right along the Hudson, not deeper into the Newport area. And this is, again, one of those newer buildings that has a lot of features, as you can see in these photos right here. But this, looking at square footage, is 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,300 square feet at $1.3 million. Now, our comparison for Dumbo is at 50 Bridge Street. And this one, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,259 square feet. So just slightly smaller here by, probably about maybe 50, more than 50, more about like maybe 80 square feet. Different aesthetic. We can see the beams that are showing definitely gives off a different vibe, high ceiling. So some of the aesthetics alone may do it for some people just in terms of what they prefer, right? So that's one thing to consider when you look at that one. We skip back over to the one at One Shore Lane at the Shore Club. You're getting a lot more in terms of the feature of being able to see through those windows, right? Having these full ceiling wall height windows that give you such a view of the exterior. So one at 1.3, another at 1.7. I'll skip back over one more time, basically at 1.8, 1.799. So very different aesthetic for each. Very different price points. But again, if you are someone who's considering, all right, do I have the luxury of being right there in Dumbo, which carries a certain kind of gravitas to it of being a resident of that area, or do I, go downtown Jersey City and have pretty much kind of that same access, but maybe I get a little bit more in terms of my view. All right. So if I'm doing some check marks, I would absolutely 100% say you're going to check off Jersey City in terms of your price per square foot on average over Dumbo. And when it comes to commutability, it really truly is a draw. Even though those two stations are outside of Dumbo, we're talking about 2 blocks, at best. And in Jersey City, both for Newport and for Paulus Hook, you're relatively close to either light rail or a path station that makes it super convenient for you to get around and more stations, but at the same time, they're not the subways, light rails you're going to end up transferring to something to get on a path and then into the city. But I would say that is a draw. Really what it comes down to is your preference of aesthetic and how much you give that value on being in a location like a Dumbo versus something like a Jersey City that's not in the city, not necessarily considered internationally as one of those kind of hot spots, because Brooklyn, you hear that name anywhere you go in the world. You won't hear that for Paulus Hook, right? Or for Newport. But yes, a lot to offer. Definitely recommend that you check out some of my videos that I have both on Newport and for Paulus Hook to get some deeper insights on those locations. Those who are currently residing in either Dumbo or in Paulus Hook, Newport, or downtown Jersey City in general, definitely drop in some commentary, share some insights, definitely give your opinion on some of the content that we've covered right here. Would love for this to be more of a community discussion. So all insights and opinions are welcome. Just follow the community guidelines. Let's keep it positive, keep it constructive. So with that being said, this concludes our episode on the Dumbo versus downtown Jersey City episode. Definitely, again, click like, subscribe, and notification bell. We have weekly episodes coming out multiple times a week now, and we want to make sure that we are staying in touch and informing you with what we have, what we bring to the table each week. So in the meantime, stay safe and stay tuned to New Jersey Living.